Welcome back to the Artie Lange Show. My next guest, legitimate guy here, Super Bowl champ with the Rams, former teammate of the great John Ritchie. Talk more about this crazy Super Bowl.
Roland
Williams. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? What's up, man? I'm in a Super Bowl hangover right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a bad one. That game gave me a headache.
That started at the opening kickoff.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, real quick, before we get detailed, about how terrible of a game the Broncos played?
Well, first off, I think that we have to give some credit where credit is due to the ridiculously good Seattle Seahawks for their play.
You're right.
At all three phases of the game. It was impressive. They retaliated and all that good stuff. And at the end, the best team won. But the first thing I'll say is, if anyone ever says that Peyton Manning is arguably one of the best players, one of the best players in football again, I'm going to puke.
Why? So you really think he lost
so
that
you're
much
hating
of his
on
legacy?
Peyton Manning?
Listen to me, guys. Peyton is by far a talented human being. One of the best regular season quarterbacks ever to play the game. But at 11-12 in the playoffs, at some point, we have to be honest about his mediocrity, his lameness in the biggest moments. The guy is not that guy in the playoffs. Now, I know that we had some blocks, John. There were the referees were, might not have been calling all the times the receivers got held, but there's never a moment where Peyton Manning makes me feel like he can overcome any adversity at all.
Wow.
He's never been that guy from Tennessee to now.
Wow.
He's never been a guy that inspires teammates. If there was ever a time where your leader was supposed to fire up your lineman, encourage your fullback, just do something. He sat there like a deer in the headlights. And
he did.
Was so lame in the biggest moment. I was like, that's not what Joe Montana, Steve Young, that's not what.
That's a great point.
It's not what Eli Manning would do. You'd rather have Eli in the postseason, by far, right?
I would love Eli. I would love Eli in the postseason.
Would you rather have Cooper Manning in the postseason?
So I think those are the big takeaways. Was hats off to Seattle.
No, that takes balls to say that. You're being honest. I think a lot of people might think what you're saying right now, but not as severe. But you're really letting them have it. And listen,
man, I don't like it, but you have a point. I wanted Peyton to win that game just so we wouldn't be saying this about him. I didn't want it to be true, Roland. But but really, when I look back on that game and some of the mistakes that he made and just the general look of apprehension on his face, he could do nothing with that defense. And listen, he had the weapons. You can't say he was lacking in that firepower department, except for maybe his arm.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a big thing to be lacking in, though, if you're a quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, there were at least 4 or 5 throws that had nothing to do with anything other than him just throwing the ball poorly.
Yeah,
there were some ducks.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
The thing is, if that was any other quarterback, if that was Russell Wilson, if that was any other quarterback, they'd be trashing him. If that was Trent Dilfer, I mean, they'd be saying how he's not a quarterback that can lead his team. But with Peyton, the world's just been giving him too many passes in the postseason, and I just have to be honest. Like it was disappointing that they couldn't do something. Now, they might not have won the game, but certainly there could have been a Peyton Manning with some fight, with some resolve, and making something happen in that game.
Well, to be fair, too, there were a couple times that he was kind of rallying the troops and putting some drives together, and he wasn't turning the ball over. But, the strip, the Demaryius Thomas gets stripped. That doesn't help. I mean, that puts the stop to a nice drive that they had going down the field. Maybe that's the kind of thing that rallies things and gets things going. No one played well on that offense. And, I don't think it's so much their lack of professionalism, lack of skill, lack of knowledge, but more so that Seattle defense just basically lining up and saying, we're going to either run 3 deep or we're going to run, 2 deep, man under, and we don't care if you know it. You can't beat us.
But John, I'm just saying, the Seattle Seahawks were not undefeated this year.
Right.
The St. Louis Rams, which obviously I still watch those games, gave the Seattle Seahawks as much as they could handle. The Arizona Cardinals gave the Seahawks as much as they could handle, beat them. I mean, the 49ers, clearly, we saw that game. Colin Kaepernick, is he better than Peyton Manning? Well, based off the playoff performances, I have to say that
if Colin Kaepernick values the ball a little bit more, and I think he will as he gets more experience and older in under center, the 49ers win that game. That and Richard Sherman said after the game, the 49ers, that was our Super Bowl. They are the second best team in the NFL. But, I mean, honestly, the game that they lost to the Arizona Cardinals up in Seattle, the games that they lost this season, the Seattle Seahawks didn't play as well as they did in the Super Bowl. They saved their best game for the biggest game of the year.
No.
Hey, Roland, what about the GM John Schneider for the Seahawks? Goes out in the offseason, gets Percy Harvin and Cliff Averill. Two of the absolute stars last night. And 2 years ago in the third round of the draft, the quarterback Russell Wilson. I mean, at what point do we give Schneider unbelievable credit for what he's done?
I appreciate the fact that he tapped into every avenue to get players on his team, whether free agency, it doesn't matter, to, doing well in the draft. I mean, Russell Wilson, what great value. The guy made $500,000 this year. I mean, John, he made $500,000 this year.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Richard Sherman made about $500,000 this year. I mean,
fifth round draft pick.
That is the epitome of drafting well. But my thing is, what I'm most impressed with, the coaches make the players fit into the scheme. I mean, they run schemes that work for the players they draft. What a concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a concept. And that is what works. I mean, John, you remember back with us with the Raiders? They drafted you. You're a great fullback. Well, they used you. And put running backs behind you so they could use your skill set.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are the winning principles that good teams do.
All right.
We were trying to run the West Coast, sort of fast-paced, offense with our linemen. It wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we went power run game, mixed it in.
You know what I'm saying? You draft players, but you put them in situations to succeed, and that's what I'm impressed with.
Hey, you know what else I was thinking about? I mean, doesn't it seem like Pete Carroll has his own Pac-12 stamp on things? We all talk about the East Coast bias when it comes to ESPN. When it comes to just sports in general, there's a lot more concentration of teams on the East Coast. The coverage is a little bit more expansive on the East Coast. And then sometimes you forget about those Pac-12 teams. I think that may be the case with some of these GMs, too, with some of these personnel guys. Pete Carroll and Schneider, I mean, they have their finger on the pulse of the West Coast of things, and they're bringing a lot of guys in from the Pac-12 where maybe other people overlook them. And I might be reading into that being a Pac-12 proud guy, but doesn't it seem like they're having success with West Coast guys?
I think so, and I think that he creates that college environment where a guy like Marshawn Lynch cannot want to talk to the media. A guy like Richard Sherman can be his guy. I mean, the linebacker that was MVP of the Super Bowl was a guy that many people looked over, a guy that Pete Carroll coached in college. So these are those attributes, and I'm like, it's when you win, man, everybody deserves to get some love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's certainly enough love to spread around. So I was just totally impressed with what they did and the environment that Pete Carroll makes. He makes it fun to be a Seahawks.
Yeah, they love him.
It's college. It's like playing college ball again, but yet you get fat paychecks. You can drive Lamborghinis.
Hey, when you were coming out in the draft, did you get to talk to Pete Carroll at all?
I did not talk to Pete Carroll. I was sort of laser focused on guys who could cut a check for me, and Pete Carroll wasn't a check writer at that time.
Well, when I was coming out in '98, he was the head coach of the Patriots, and at the combine, for whatever reason, I guess they had an interest in me, and he probably spent a good hour just, shooting the breeze with me. I was assuming it was a job interview, but we were just talking about everything. And I came away from that thinking, man, I want to go play for the Patriots. I want to go play for Pete Carroll. I hope they draft me. So I can totally understand why these guys are so loyal and why they play so hard for him. He is a guy who inspires you because he is a great dude that cares about every one of those guys, and you know it.
Well, Russell Wilson was at the Knick game with Jay-Z, and it sounds like maybe he's going to get a little bit more than $500,000 a year. Maybe Jay-Z. You think Jay-Z's circling him, Roland, to rep him, or what?
You're funny.
Yeah.
I would.
That's his thing.
What do you think? What do you think they're going to be 500? Him and Sherman will be making next year.
Well, here's the thing. You have to pay guys, man, or else you're going to lose your team.
Sure.
So I think every team has an opportunity to pay 4 or 5 guys. You got to find out who those 3 guys are going to be on offense, what 3 guys are going to be on defense. The receivers, a couple of guys up for free agency. I think Baldwin and one of the other guys. Well, those weren't your different major. You got Percy Harvin, you got Russell Wilson, you got Marshawn Lynch. You got to build around there. They got a nice tight end. I like his game. You got to build from there,
Yeah.
And conversely, on the defensive side of the ball, as long as you keep that Legion of Boom and you keep those 2 edge rushers, I think they'll be fine with anybody else.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, Brandon Browner. Nobody talks, Roland, about Brandon Brown. He's a really good corner, and they lost him 6 weeks ago, a drug situation.
We got a break. I'm sorry.
They'll be even better next year.
Roland, we're up against a hard break. I'm sorry, buddy. Thanks so much for calling in. Appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you again, brother.
Love you guys, man.
Thanks, man. Love you. See you.
Good job, Roland. Roland Williams back after this.
The Artie Lange Show, weeknights on Audience, only on DirecTV.